Right. Elite plunder exposed. Retired CIO boss goes public. The gold, the jets, and the cabal bleeding Zimbabwe dry. Zimbabwe. You need to hear this. When a retired intelligence officer, a man who spent his career inside the most secretive institution in Zimbabwe, a man trained to never speak, to observe and report and vanish into the shadows. When that man decides to go public, when he drops a written dossier for the world to read, you do not dismiss it as social media noise. You stop, Zimbabwe. You stop what you are doing. You lean forward and you listen very, very carefully. Because intelligence officers do not blow whistles carelessly. They calculate, they weigh the risks, they understand exactly what it means to put their name on a document that challenges the most powerful people in the land. And when they do it anyway, when they decide the silence is more dangerous than the speaking, it means they have seen something so alarming that they believe the country's future depends on the truth getting out. That is where we are right now, Zimbabwe. And pano pamzinda wevanhu, we're taking you through every single word of it. Right, the man behind the dossier, retired DIO Shepard Mpeswe. DEO Shepard Mpeswe. Shepard Mpeswe is not a social media commentator. He is not an opposition politician. He is not a foreign journalist with an agenda. He is a retired district intelligence officer of Zimbabwe's Central Intelligence Organization, the CIO, the most feared and secretive security institution in the country. And in the past week, he has dropped 2 separate public intelligence analyses that have torn through Zimbabwe's political establishment like a blade. In his first document, Mpeswe targeted the sacred inner circle of CAB 3 itself, exposing the pre-CAB farm meeting between Mnangagwa and Ramaphosa as something far more calculated than a rustic agricultural visit. Zimbabwe. Mpeswe wrote, "Today I speak not to the architects of CAB 3, but to its innocent and naive carriers. The ones who shout the loudest, defend the hardest, and yet know the least about where this project was truly conceived. The recent meeting at Pre-CAB Farm was not a routine gathering. It was a convergence of a tight inner circle, the real custodians of CAB 3. Those who were present are not just participants, but they are the originators. They are the ones who felt threatened by the 2013 Constitution. They are the ones who quietly crafted a path to neutralize it. They are the ones who manufactured the narrative of a 2030 agenda and dressed it up as the will of the people." Zimbabwe. Terra futi papo. A retired CIO officer is telling the loud public defenders of CAB 3, the rally attendees, the ZANU-PF youth, the chanting crowds, that they are being used, that they are tools, that the real architects of the project are a tiny, frightened inner circle who designed CAB 3 not to save Zimbabwe, but to protect themselves. And his second document, published on May 14th, goes even deeper. Mpeswe wrote, "Today Mnangagwa faces a subtle yet far more dangerous reality in that the very financial and material resources he deploys to consolidate loyalty are now choking the flow of truth to his office. Access dynamics and informal networks have since become filters that reward praise, punish honesty, and elevate compliance while silencing competence. Every official sidelined for speaking frankly represents not just one lost voice, but many more retreating into silence. This is exactly how ED has been slowly isolated from the masses since 2017. A president does not lose power overnight, but he loses it gradually, especially when those around him stop correcting him." Zimbabwe, a former CIO officer, describing the president of Zimbabwe as a man so surrounded by sycophants, so insulated by patronage networks, so protected from honesty counsel, that he no longer receives accurate information about his own country. A man being slowly, deliberately isolated from reality by the very people who claim to save him. That is not a political attack. That is an intelligence assessment, and it is devastating. Let's talk about the midnight departure and the questions that will not go away. We have covered Mnangagwa's secretive departure extensively on this channel, but as the details crystallize and the intelligence picture becomes clearer, the story grows more alarming, not less. What is confirmed? Mnangagwa departed Zimbabwe on May 6th aboard an $18,000 per hour luxury Boeing 737 business jet, registration A6DAS, owned by Royal Jet of the United Arab Emirates. Based on market rates, the government spent over $500,000 on the trip. $500,000 of public money, no advance announcement, no airport send-off, no official handover ceremony, no transparency, and a presidential spokesperson who refused to respond to direct media inquiries for days. The claims about a second aircraft carrying state gold sourced from intelligence networks including Mpeswe have not been independently verified to the standard the Mtapa Times requires for confirmed fact. But here's what we can tell you with documented certainty. The pattern of gold movement out of Zimbabwe through networks connected to powerful political figures is not a conspiracy theory. It is an investigated, documented, internationally reported reality. The gold mafia is real. The receipts are staggering. Let us talk about Zimbabwe's gold. Let us talk about where it goes. And let us talk about the network of people who have been systematically bleeding this country's most valuable resource for personal gain. Because this is not ancient history, Zimbabwe. This happened. It was filmed. It was broadcast globally, and almost nobody has been held accountable. Nobody. Al Jazeera's gold mafia investigation revealed how some of Southern Africa's biggest gold smuggling gangs plundered their countries to enrich themselves while helping criminals launder hundreds of millions of dollars. In case after case spanning the gangs, one name kept appearing as the person the smugglers claimed gave them a protective shield: President Emmerson Mnangagwa. One of the most direct laundering schemes was proposed by Hubert Angel, Zimbabwe's own ambassador at large to Europe and the Americas, personally appointed by Mnangagwa, and his deputy Ricky Dulan. They described Mnangagwa as number one in their scheme, insisting he was aware of what they were doing. The idea was simple. Money launderers could send unaccounted cash to Zimbabwe through Angel's diplomatic cover, receiving an equivalent amount of Zimbabwean gold in return. During undercover meetings, Angel telephoned Mnangagwa's wife Auxilia, calling her mom, and asked for her help in laundering $1.2 billion. Al Jazeera independently verified that the person at the other end of the call was Auxilia Mnangagwa. That is not speculation. That is a recorded, verified, internationally broadcast documentary. And what followed? Investigations announced, promises made, and then silence. Because the people who would investigate are the same people implicated, and the system protects itself. Zimbabwe, the Chivayo network, arrested, wanted, and still free. Now let us bring the gold story forward to 2026, because the most recent chapter is playing out right now across the border in South Africa, and it involves names that every Zimbabwean knows. South Africa's hawks declared Joachim G6 Chivayo, the younger brother of controversial businessman Wicknell Chivayo, publicly described by Wicknell as his dear little brother, wanted in February 2026 in connection with an illegal gold dealing case worth nearly 15 million rands. Police had arrested Joachim in late 2024 after finding 6 bars of unwrought gold in his possession at Brakpan, Johannesburg. He later skipped bail and fled to Zimbabwe. Joachim Chivayo He had been appointed as Deputy Secretary for Information and Publicity in Harare Province in September 2025, positioning himself as a vocal ZANU-PF supporter and public defender of President Mnangagwa. A ZANU-PF provincial official, wanted by South Africa's elite Hawks unit for illegal gold possession, skipped bail, fled across the border, and is now reportedly living freely in Zimbabwe, flashing cash, attending social events, and facing zero consequences at home. And the wider legal drama does not stop there. In April 2026, the Gauteng division of the High Court in Pretoria ordered a freeze on bank accounts and key assets linked to Whistleblower himself, including a Bombardier Challenger 300 private jet he was barred from accessing as part of a cross-border divorce battle initiated by his ex-wife, who alleged the dissipation of joint matrimonial assets. A luxury private jet frozen by a South African court because a Zimbabwean businessman connected to State House allegedly cannot be trusted not to spirit away assets before proceedings conclude. Meanwhile, Whistleblower himself has denied being a person of interest to South African authorities, dismissing the claims as manufactured controversy by opposition critics and social media prosecutors, insisting he is a well-established and successful businessman of unquestionable integrity. You can make your own judgment about what unquestionable integrity looks like when your younger brother is a wanted fugitive. Your private jet has been frozen by a foreign court, and a 4-part Al Jazeera documentary placed your broader network at the center of Southern Africa's most documented gold smuggling scandal. Zimbabwe. The CIO is being purged, and the timing is everything. Here is a detail that connects every thread of right now's broadcast into one devastating picture. In April 2026, just weeks before Mnangagwa's secret departure, Mnangagwa fired CIO Director General Fulton Mangwanya and replaced him with diplomat Paul Chikawa, effective immediately under Section 226(1) of Zimbabwe's constitution. No rationale was provided for the dismissal. The ZAC corruption, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, corruption investigation into Mangwanya, which targeted a company called Terrestrial Holdings, staffed by CIO officials and allegedly involving the misuse of funds, had been intensifying in the weeks before his removal. CIO insiders alleged a coordinated campaign targeting the organization's leadership after it initiated internal reforms, arguing that the alleged irregularities actually occurred under Mangwanya's predecessor Isaac Moyo, raising the question of whether the ZAC investigation was a genuine law enforcement action or an instrument of internal CIO power dynamics. Think about what this means. The head of Zimbabwe's intelligence service fired, his replacement installed with no public explanation, the investigation targeting his organization timed suspiciously, and within weeks, the president is boarding a luxury jet in the middle of the night with no ceremony, no announcement, and no accountability. When you purge the intelligence chief, install a loyalist, and then leave the country in secret, you are not managing routine state business. You are clearing the check. The bottom line, Zimbabwe, the plunder must end. Retired DEO Shepherd Mpeswe ended his second document with words that every Zimbabwean needs to hear and remember. He wrote, "History will not remember who defended Cape 3 the loudest, but it will remember who stood up when it mattered most. It is not too late to open your eyes. The struggle before us is not about individuals. It is about the soul of our constitutional order, a struggle worth choosing consciously, courageously, and collectively. The soul of Zimbabwe's constitutional order, that is what is at stake. not a factional fight between two powerful men, not a term limit technicality, not a parliamentary procedure debate, but the soul of the document that the liberation struggle was fought to create. The document that over 3 million Zimbabweans endorsed by referendum in 2013. The document that says you serve the people, and when your time is done, you go. Gold can be replaced. Institutions, once broken, take generations to rebuild. Zimbabwe's constitution, once torn up by a man who was supposed to protect it, will not easily be restored. The retired CIO officer knows this. The war veterans knows this. The Catholic bishops know this. The lawyers know this. The 7 judges who will sit on May 20th know this. The only question is, does the man on that luxury jet know it too? Panopam the Mtapa Times will be here when he lands and every day after. Subscribe to the Mtapa Times on YouTube, on Facebook, follow us, the channel that publishes what power tries to bury. What do you think about the gold allegations and Mpeswe's intelligence dossier? What do you think about that? Is Zimbabwe's national wealth being protected or plundered? Drop the raw truth in the comments below. Smash the like button. Share this broadcast with everyone who needs to hear it. And support independent journalism through Join and Super Thanks. Zimbabwe needs this channel, and this channel needs you. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.